Imagine spending 40 years working hard, saving every paycheck, investing wisely, and finally reaching retirement, only to wake up every morning wondering one terrifying question. What if I run out of money? For millions of retirees, that's their biggest fear. It's not the stock market crashing. It's not inflation. It's not even unexpected expenses. It's the possibility of living longer than their savings. After all, retirement isn't like buying a car or taking a vacation. You don't know exactly how long it will last. It could be 20 years, 30 years, or even longer. So how do you know how much you can safely spend every year without draining your nest egg? That's where one simple idea has changed retirement planning for decades. It's called the 4% rule. Some people treat it like the golden rule of retirement. Others argue it's outdated and too risky. So who's right? Today we're breaking down exactly what the 4% rule is, where it came from, why millions of retirees still use it, and whether it can actually help ensure you never run out of money. By the end of this video, you'll understand not only how the rule works, but also whether it fits your own retirement strategy. If you want to master the rules of financial freedom and navigate your way out of the 9-to-5 grind, consider subscribing to the Retirement Compass. We chart the path so you can enjoy the destination. Let's get started. The name sounds complicated, but the idea is surprisingly simple. The 4% rule says that during your first year of retirement, you withdraw 4% of your investment portfolio. Then, in each following year, you adjust that dollar amount to account for inflation rather than taking another fixed percentage. Let's make that easier to understand. Suppose you've saved $1 million by the time you retire. 4% of $1 million is $40,000. According to the rule, you could withdraw $40,000 during your first year of retirement. If inflation rises by 3% the following year, you wouldn't simply take another 4% of your remaining balance. Instead, you would increase your withdrawal by that inflation rate. That means your second year withdrawal would be about $41,200. The idea is to maintain your purchasing power while giving your investments enough opportunity to continue growing over time. It sounds almost too simple. And that's exactly why it became so famous. But here's the interesting part. The 4% rule wasn't created by a financial influencer or a best-selling author. It came from decades of historical market research. In the 1990s, financial planner William Bengen studied historical returns from stocks and bonds across many different economic periods. His question was straightforward. If someone retired during the worst possible market conditions in history, how much could they safely withdraw each year without running out of money over a 30-year retirement? After analyzing countless historical scenarios, one number kept standing out: 4%. Even during some of the toughest market periods, retirees who followed this withdrawal rate generally had a high probability of their savings lasting for 3 decades. That research eventually became one of the foundations of modern retirement planning. But here's something many people misunderstand. The 4% rule was never meant to be a guarantee. It isn't a promise that your money can never run out. Instead, it's a guideline based on historical market performance under a specific set of assumptions. And understanding those assumptions is the difference between using the rule wisely and relying on it blindly. Now, before you assume the 4% rule is a foolproof retirement strategy, it's important to understand the assumptions behind it. The original research assumed that your retirement savings weren't sitting in a checking account. They were invested in a diversified portfolio, traditionally made up of roughly 50 to 75% stocks and the remainder in bonds. Why does that matter? Because retirement isn't just about spending money. It's about allowing your investments to continue working for you. Even after you stop working, your portfolio can still grow through dividends, interest, and market appreciation. That continued growth helps offset the money you're withdrawing each year. Think of your retirement savings like a fruit tree. If you only pick a reasonable amount of fruit each season while continuing to care for the tree, it keeps producing year after year. But if you strip every branch bare, eventually the tree can't recover. Your retirement portfolio works in much the same way. The goal isn't to preserve every dollar forever. The goal is to spend enough to enjoy your retirement while allowing the remaining investments enough time to regenerate. Of course, markets don't move in a straight line. Some years your portfolio might grow by 15 or even 20%. Other years it could decline significantly. That's where one of the biggest retirement risks enters the picture. It's called sequence of returns risk. This sounds technical, but the concept is surprisingly simple. Imagine two retirees. Both start with $1 million. Both average the exact same annual investment return over the next 30 years. Yet one person runs out of money, while the other finishes retirement with hundreds of thousands of dollars remaining. How is that possible? The difference isn't the average return, it's the order in which those returns happen. If the market falls sharply during the first few years of retirement, you're forced to withdraw money from a portfolio that's already shrinking. That means you're selling investments while prices are low. Those shares are gone forever and can no longer participate when the market eventually recovers. Financial planners often refer to this as selling your future gains. On the other hand, if strong market returns happen during the early years of retirement, your portfolio has more opportunity to grow before you begin taking substantial withdrawals. This is why the first decade of retirement is often considered the most important. Managing risk during those early years can have a lasting impact on the rest of your retirement. Fortunately, there are ways retirees try to reduce this risk. Some keep several years' worth of living expenses in cash or short-term bonds. Others temporarily reduce spending during major market downturns. And many work with financial professionals to create flexible withdrawal strategies instead of following one rigid percentage every year. The important lesson is this: the 4% rule isn't meant to operate in isolation. It's one tool within a much larger retirement plan. Planning for the future can be overwhelming, but you don't have to navigate it alone. If you're finding value in this breakdown so far, hit the like button. It helps this compass reach more people looking for financial direction. Now let's address another common misconception. Many people believe the 4% rule guarantees they'll never touch the principal of their savings. That's simply not true. In reality, your account balance will fluctuate throughout retirement. Some years you'll spend part of your principal. Other years investment gains may more than replace everything you withdrew. The objective isn't to keep your balance exactly where it started. The objective is to make your money last as long as you do. In fact, many people who followed the rule historically didn't end retirement with an empty account. Some finished with substantially more money than they started with because market performance exceeded the assumptions used in the original research. Others finished with, "That's perfect with less." That's perfectly normal. The success of the strategy isn't measured by whether you die with the exact amount you started with. It's measured by whether your income remained sustainable throughout retirement without forcing painful financial sacrifices. And that's the real purpose of the 4% rule. It isn't about becoming richer in retirement. It's about creating confidence. Confidence that your savings have a structured plan, instead of relying on guesswork. Confidence that you can enjoy vacations, hobbies, time with family, and everyday life without constantly wondering whether every purchase is putting your future at risk. So, does that mean the 4% rule is still the best retirement strategy today? The answer is a little more nuanced. When William Bengen introduced the rule, interest rates, bond yields, life expectancy, and market valuations looked very different from what they do today. People are living longer than ever before. Many retirees may spend 30 or even 35 years in retirement. Healthcare costs continue to rise. Inflation can remain stubbornly high for years, and markets can experience long periods of volatility. Because of these changes, some financial experts believe retirees should start with a withdrawal rate slightly below 4%, especially if they retire during periods of unusually high stock valuations or uncertain economic conditions. Others argue that many retirees can safely spend more than 4% because they naturally reduce spending as they age or have additional income from pensions, rental properties, or government benefits. This highlights one important truth: the perfect withdrawal rate isn't universal. It's personal. It depends on your lifestyle, your investments, your health, your retirement age, and the income sources available to you. For example, someone retiring at age 55 may need a much more conservative withdrawal strategy than someone retiring at age 70. Likewise, a retiree with guaranteed monthly income from Social Security and a pension may rely much less on their investment portfolio than someone funding retirement entirely from savings. That's why many financial planners have shifted toward what's known as a flexible withdrawal strategy. Instead of withdrawing the exact same inflation-adjusted amount every year, regardless of market conditions, retirees make small adjustments based on how their portfolio is performing. Imagine your investments have a fantastic year and your portfolio grows by 18%. You might decide to increase your travel budget or finally renovate your kitchen. But if the market falls 20% during a recession, you might postpone buying that new car or take one less vacation that year. These small adjustments can dramatically increase the longevity of a retirement portfolio without significantly affecting your quality of life. Think of it like sailing a boat. You don't keep the sail fixed regardless of the wind. You adjust your course as conditions change. Successful retirement planning works exactly the same way. The destination stays the same, but the path may need occasional adjustments. Another mistake people make is focusing only on how much money they need. In reality, retirement planning is just as much about controlling expenses as it is about growing investments. Every dollar you don't have to spend is another dollar that stays invested. Sometimes increasing financial security doesn't require earning more. It requires spending more intentionally. Many retirees discover that some of the happiest years of their lives aren't necessarily the most expensive. They spend more time with family. They enjoy hobbies they've postponed for decades. They volunteer. They travel thoughtfully instead of extravagantly. Financial freedom isn't about spending the most. It's about having choices. That's the real purpose of building wealth. Not simply accumulating a large account balance, but creating the freedom to decide how you want to spend your time. The 4% rule provides a framework for protecting that freedom. It transforms retirement from a guessing game into a structured financial plan. Is it perfect? No. No retirement strategy can predict future markets with absolute certainty. But having a thoughtful plan is almost always better than having no plan at all. Because uncertainty becomes much less intimidating when you know the principles guiding your decisions. So, after everything we've discussed, let's answer the big question: Can the 4% rule really guarantee that you'll never run out of money? The honest answer is no. No financial strategy can offer an absolute guarantee. Markets are unpredictable. Inflation changes. Tax laws evolve. Healthcare costs can rise unexpectedly. And none of us knows exactly how long we'll live. But here's what the 4% rule can do. It gives you a proven framework for making retirement decisions based on decades of historical research instead of emotion. Without a plan, it's easy to make costly mistakes. Some retirees become so afraid of running out of money that they barely spend any of it. They sacrifice vacations, hobbies, experiences with family, and opportunities they've spent their entire careers working toward. Ironically, many of them pass away having accumulated far more wealth than they ever needed. On the other hand, some retirees spend too aggressively during the first decade of retirement, assuming their investments will always recover quickly. When unexpected market downturns occur, they're forced to make painful lifestyle changes later in life. The goal isn't to be at either extreme. The goal is balance. That's exactly what the 4% rule tries to provide. Think of it as the speed limit on a highway. Driving below the speed limit doesn't guarantee you'll never have an accident. Driving at the speed limit doesn't guarantee it either. But following a guideline that has been carefully developed over time dramatically improves your chances of reaching your destination safely. Retirement works the same way. The 4% rule isn't magic. It's discipline, it's patience, it's understanding that retirement isn't won by chasing the highest returns. It's won by consistently making smart decisions year after year. And perhaps the biggest lesson isn't even about the number 4. It's about having a withdrawal strategy at all. Whether your personal number ends up being 3.5%, 4%, or even 4.5%. What's important is that your spending aligns with your savings, your investments, and your long-term goals. The most successful retirees don't simply hope their money lasts. They create a plan, review it regularly, and adjust it when life changes. Because retirement isn't a single decision you make on your last day of work. It's a journey that unfolds over decades. Along the way, markets will rise, markets will fall, inflation will come and go, your priorities may change, but a thoughtful financial plan gives you confidence through all of it. Imagine waking up each morning knowing your bills are covered, knowing you can visit your grandchildren, travel to places you've always dreamed about, support causes you care about, or simply enjoy a quiet cup of coffee without constantly worrying about your bank account. That's what financial freedom really looks like. Not unlimited wealth, but peace of mind. And that's ultimately why the 4% rule has remained one of the most discussed retirement strategies in the world. Not because it's perfect, but because it gives people a practical starting point for turning a lifetime of savings into a lifetime of income. As you build your own retirement plan, remember this: the amount you've saved matters. The investments you've chosen matter. But the decisions you make after retirement are just as important as the decisions you made while earning that money. A well-planned withdrawal strategy can make the difference between constantly worrying about your future and confidently enjoying the years you've worked so hard to reach. If you haven't started thinking about your retirement income strategy yet, today is the perfect time. The sooner you understand how your money can work for you, the more options you'll have later in life. And that's a future worth planning for. Planning for the future can be overwhelming, but you don't have to navigate it alone. If you're finding value in this breakdown so far, hit the like button. It helps this compass reach more people looking for financial direction. Thank you for watching The Retirement Compass. Every week, we simplify retirement planning, investing, and financial freedom into practical strategies you can actually use. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to subscribe and join our growing community of people preparing for a more confident financial future. Until next time, keep your compass pointed toward financial freedom, and we'll help you chart the course.